Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you for joining me, Jag Singh, for another dose of positive minds on the Sikh channel. Now, I'm very proud to say this is the third series of Positive Minds. I've interviewed 27 amazing motivational guests. And do you know what? I've loved the support I got from everyone out there. So thank you so much for your support. Now, are you an artist, a writer, an inventor? Are you a community worker or a charity worker? Have you got a great success story to share? If you have, contact me, Jag Singh, on jagsingh70btinternet.com, and I'd like to hear your story. And you might even find yourself sitting here on Positive Minds having a good chat with me. Okay, and also you can catch up on previous shows on YouTube. What you've got to do is go to your browser and simply type in Jag Singh I Can. So catch up on previous episodes of Positive Minds on YouTube. Simply type in Jag Singh I Can. Now, today, or with me, today's show, I've got a great guest, okay? Now, this young lady, when she was 8 years old, she started to write poems. And as she wrote the poems, she got the passion of writing. She got involved in the passion of writing. And what she didn't know was that one day she would have a bestseller on Amazon. So today with me, I have Octavia Lonergan. Octavia, thank you so much for joining me today on Positive Minds.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
So, Octavia, start from the top. How did you feel? I mean, what happened at a young age? Tell us your experience. Tell me what inspired you to do what you're doing today.
First time I remember writing a poem, we had a pipistrelle bat brought into school along with some other wildlife, and I was absolutely taken with it. It was so little and so cute, and we had to write poetry about our experience that day. And I can still remember it to this day, although I think it might have been a bit longer. The bit I remember, a bat can't see as well as you and me. He has no need, in a cave lives he. So that was my first ever poem that I recall. And since then I wrote lots more poems and stories, and I'd always do little illustrations of the characters, and I'd really enjoy coming up with the storylines and their backgrounds and, you know, their expressions and things. I used to make lots of little pamphlets and things. I'd make my own books and stapled together, and I've just always loved writing.
And I'm smiling here, Octavia, because I'm thinking about myself. I mean, I've released a book as well on Amazon, and I remember when I was 13, 14, and I used to do exactly the same thing. I used to design my own covers and write my stories. I mean, half of them didn't make any sense at that time. But, as time goes on, I've learned we have to learn as human beings. It doesn't just fall in our lap. We have to make the effort to go out there to write a book. You have to learn the nouns, the verbs, the vocabulary, everything that comes with it. And tell me about, I can see at the background I've got the Cat's Eye View of Litter. Tell me about your two bestsellers.
Okay, so my first book is behind my head at the moment. I'll just hold it up, it's easier. There we go. Cat's Eye View of Lockdown. There we go. And that book I wrote last year during lockdown. I was just inspired to write it, and actually got it published during lockdown, thinking I've got to get it out there quick. This isn't going to last for long, while the topic is topical. But obviously, it went on a bit longer than we'd expected. And during that time, I also then wrote Cat's Eye View of Litter. Following on from the first book, it's got the same characters and is actually based upon everything I kept seeing in Facebook groups of the sort of local pages, your local town or village. I kept seeing pictures of people going to parks and seeing litter bins full up, overflowing everywhere. And I thought, oh God, no, this isn't on. So that's what inspired the litter book. Lockdown was just inspired by going for a walk. I have twin girls who are going to be 3 just after Christmas. So at the time I used to take them out quite regularly in the pushchair for long walks to try and pass the time. And it just popped into my head one day, I wonder what everybody's pets are thinking. Because everyone was at home, and that's just not normal for everybody. Some people are at home all the time, but whole families were at home, and I thought I bet cats are a bit confused because I've always had an affinity with cats. Despite being allergic to them, I absolutely love cats, and that's just what popped into my head. And based it on some of the cats in my husband's family, in fact. That's where I got the names from.
And that's amazing, Octavia, because inspiration, right, comes to us at weird times. It does. Inspiration comes to us, and if someone sits there and goes, I've got no inspiration, I get nothing that comes to me. And inspiration does come to us, but what we do with it is what makes a difference. Now, you had that inspiration when you took your twins out for a walk, and you could have done nothing with that. You could have thought, it's an idea, one day I'll do it, maybe, should be, someday, I'm busy with the twins. And it's not easy bringing up twins, as you would vouch. And anyone out there who has got twins, because I've seen some friends, oh my God, and they are a handful. But that inspiration, you've done something with it and you made it happen, and it's become a book. So well done, Octavia. That's great. And that's what Positive Minds is all about, We all get that idea, that inspiration, but how many people just put it aside? So you made it happen. So well done. And also, Octavia, the Cat's Ivy of lockdown, that was great timing for you, because it was a time where children were confused, parents weren't sure how to deliver their message to the children about what was going on. I mean, except for what they caught from the school gossip and the teachers' gossip and everything was going on. But your book, what it did was it gave people something they could read to their children to relate to what was happening in the world. So I think you couldn't have delivered it better at a better time. So well done.
Thank you. I've had some great feedback, particularly from parents who, there's one lady who did a review, they did a review for me, and just saying how her little boy wanted to read it every night, and it really helped him kind of make sense of what was going on, and how he always asked for that book, for the lockdown book, and the fact that I knew it was actually helping real people out there. At first it was a bit much to take, because I thought this just started off as a poem that I wrote, that got longer and longer and longer. I put it up on my Facebook, my Instagram, Poems by Octavia, and a few people said, "Oh, where can I buy this?" And I thought, "Oh, okay, I should make this into a book." I've always wanted to write a children's book. I've had lots of other ideas that have never quite made it to the to reality. But yeah, so that's what happened there. Yeah, so I'm really pleased with it.
Yeah, sorry, Octavia, what you just said there, that you tried many things that didn't work out, and then eventually you had something which was working out. Now, that is about persistence, about keeping going, keep on moving forward, and that's a great message for everyone out there. Octavia could have given up. She would have thought to herself, I've had enough. I'm not going to bother. No, why should I bother? It's not getting over. But you was persistent. And what was your motivation? What was the inspiration because we all have an inspiration. Mine is my children, my family, making the world a better place. What inspired you to, every time you failed and you thought, you know what, I'm going to try again? What was it?
It was the thought that one day I'm really, really hoping to be able to take my books into the school that my children will go to and read them to the class. That is my dream. I've done a couple on Teams and Zoom, but in real life, I just want to go and see children and read my book to them. That's the thing that kept me going, is I thought one day I could do that. Yeah.
And you know what, I can relate to that, because when I was working for the NSPCC, and I went to a school delivery service, and I went to schools and spoke about being safe. I did it with my daughter's assembly. I actually was so fortunate enough with assembly when my daughter. I mean, get me right, she was sitting in assembly like that, hoping Daddy don't call me out or nothing. But she's only young. She's only young, and understood that, and I didn't want to embarrass her. But I felt so electrified knowing that I was delivering to a assembly with my daughter actually.
Oh, that's
and
so.
That you're saying right now as well. I'm going to the schools. You're delivering to the message to the children.
That's the dream. Can I just keep it real for 1 minute? My laptop is about to die. I've got to plug the battery in. I'm so sorry. This is the reality that we're living with. I'm just going to plug it in.
You've got 2 minutes. Go for it. Okay, so guys, there we go. Octavia Lonergan is speaking about how she had a passion. Okay, she had a passion. So she went out there and then she made an effort to make it become a reality. Now, she said she failed many times. She tried different topics and it didn't work out. But she just kept going. And that's what Positive Minds is about. Okay, positive minds is about, keep moving forward. We're telling you, and it's to keep going forward. And if you guys out there who watch, oh, yeah, she's back. Okay,
I'm
if
back.
you guys
So
if you guys sitting out there right now, think to yourself, do you know what? I've tried a few times and it's not working out. I'm going to give up. Please keep going. Okay, so Octavia, when my children were young, I used to sit there with them and at bedtime and read them stories, and I used to find that most of the time I used to get more involved in the story myself than they were, and I really, really enjoyed them. And what do you think about encouraging parents to read more books to their story to their children at bedtimes? What do you think about that?
I think it's so important, and not even just at bedtime. Anytime throughout the day, um, from when they're born. Obviously, babies don't understand what you're saying, but they get used to the sound of your voice. It's comforting, and just get used to hearing words, and it really helps them to learn to talk as well. I mean, my girls, to be fair, they never stop talking now. I'm surprised I've not heard them in the background. My mum's looking after them while we do this. They're quite chatty these days, and I think a lot of that is to do with reading to them. It's a bonding time. It's also an educational thing. They will pick up language, and it sparks off their imagination as well. You read them a book, and the next thing you know, they're reenacting with their toys bits that you've read to them, and it's a wonderful thing to see, and it's something anyone can do. And like you say, you can enjoy the books yourself. I've had people saying, that they've actually enjoyed reading my books as an adult, which is quite a big compliment. And there's little elements of humour, which helps. They're aimed at sort of key stage 1 children, but, younger children, older children, cat lovers of all ages. So yeah, reading to your kids at bedtime, it's nice because it's a nice relaxing way to wind down from the day, and just sort of give them some ideas for their dreams as well.
Yeah, and the thing is, Octavia, another thing I'm just thinking about right now is that it doesn't last long, because before you know it, they're teenagers and they don't really want to. My children are 13 and 16, and I don't think it will go down well if I ask them if they want to hear a bedtime story. The point is, it doesn't last long. I mean, I always tell new parents that, this time you've got with these children, make the most of it, because before you know it, they're going to be teenagers and they're going to be flying off in their way. So, to me, like you just said there, you hit the nail on the head. Reading the stories to the children at bedtime was such a great time for me. I know sometimes that you get tired, you think about work, you've had the challenges of daily life, but doing that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or whatever it was, it used to be so therapeutic for me, Octavia.
Yeah. And you can put all the voices as well, which is always fun. My husband does that. He likes to change the voices between the characters. More for his amusement, I think, than theirs, but it's part of
But I could relate to your husband, because you can even read a story to a child by saying the wolf went up the hill and then it slowly went down and it made a big growl. Or you can read it like, and the wolf slowly went up the hill and it made a growl. I mean, that is and my wife used to listen to me and think, God, you're nuts. But Josh and Liz used to listen to me, and I'm really so your husband's hit the nail right on the head. So Octavia, you don't only just do the writing, right? What else do you do? Have you got a full-time job as well, Octavia?
To be fair, my full-time job is being a mum at the moment, but I'm a graphic designer by profession. That's what I've always done, and I do freelance work on octaviadesign.com. Little plug there.
That's okay.
I love doing logos particularly. That's one of my favourite things to do. So that's my trade. I'm writing the books at the same time. I've got my third one in progress at the moment, which is Cat's Eye View of Being Green, which obviously follows on from litter. There's a little bit about litter, a little bit of litter, but then it's talking about recycling and energy conservation and all that sort of stuff, litter picking as well. But yeah, my primary job was always being a graphic designer. I've been doing that for over 20 years now, which is
wow.
Obviously I don't look old enough, but yeah, I am.
No. Do you know what? You're juggling so many balls in the air, Octavia, with the children, with the books, and 20 years graphic designer. I mean, it's no easy task. But I find that doing lots of things, there's a secret to doing lots of things at once, and that is, I think, time management. You
Yeah.
have to you have to have time management. This time I'm going to do this. But what I found with the kids was sometimes when my children were your children's age, it was sometimes time management went out the window because
Yeah.
nothing comes first, more importantly than the children, as you know. So you'd be doing a big project and you had little ones cry and you have to put that away. And I always did that to myself. I thought, the children come first. So there is time management involved, but obviously then when the children are young, you have to put that away sometimes. How have you found that?
Well, to be fair, when I first started writing Cat's Eye View of Lockdown, they were still having naps, at least 1 or 2 naps a day. They've recently just moved house and they've now decided we don't do naps anymore. So I don't have as much free time during the day. But when they were sleeping, I'd make the most of it. And they say sleep when your babies sleep, but it got to a point where they were sleeping through the night, but they were still having their naps, so I could use that time productively. And also, when ideas pop into my head when they're awake and when I'm looking after them, I just make a note of them on my phone. And quite often, that's to be fair, that's where the books start. It's just in the notes app on my phone, just typing in lots of different versions of the same sentence until one makes sense. So yeah, now that they don't nap, they actually get to bed a bit earlier. So I've got the evenings, and then at the weekends when my husband's home, I get a bit more time to do things as well because he's a very hands-on father to my girls. So that's
Brilliant,
great, and I've
brilliant.
got a big support network around me now as well with my family and friends. My mum's looking after them now. I come downstairs and they'll wonder where I've been. I did tell them where I was, but I don't think they quite understood. So I said I was talking about my books to a nice man, and that's all they needed to know.
Nice man, I love that. So, Octavia, listen, what you just spoke about there, that you used to work around their naps. Now,
Yeah.
there's a lot of young parents out there, parents of young children out there, thinking, I can't do nothing because I've got 2 children or 1 child or whatever they got. So, to find time to write. Now, what you just said there was what you used to do. You used to dodge the nap. So basically, when they were sleeping, I called that a window of opportunity. What you used to
Mhm.
see was, right, I can find a time. I just got to work out when. So when they
Yeah.
freshly just go out of bed, I used to call that a window of opportunity. So, right, Jack, this is a window of opportunity now because they might be asleep for an hour or 45 minutes. So what am I going to do when those 45 minutes going to be productive? And you took exactly the same route there. You see, no, it's a window of opportunity. And now that obviously the napping is stopped and it does get better, you will get more time as time goes along. But it's the fact that you're not sitting back and waiting for that time to pass. You're finding those little windows of opportunity to make that difference. Well done, Octavia. There, well done.
I've also just had a little flashback to when they were even smaller, and before I actually started on the books, but when I was still just writing my poetry, I can remember them in their little bouncy chairs, and I'd bring those into my study, and they'd sit there and they'd watch me while they'd play with their little rattles and jingly jangly toys, whilst I was on the computer designing, because I write the poetry, but then I design it, obviously being a graphic designer, to look appealing. And they used to sit there and they used to love it, not for a long time, but if I needed to do a few bits, if they'd just finished their nap and I thought, oh no, I just want to finish this one bit, my study was next to their nursery in the old house, so it worked really well. I'd forgotten about that. It just popped back into my head. Yeah, that was a lovely time.
Yeah, because Octavia, I can relate to that again because I remember when I was writing, I'm on the last bit, the last paragraph, and I'll find out what's going to happen next. And I'd heard them wake up, and it's like, and
Yeah,
like I said before, it's going to have to wait. No matter what
yeah,
happens, the children come first. But I can relate to that when you're on that bit and you think, I just want to finish it off. Octavia, nothing is possible. What we do every day without support. Okay, we all need some
yeah.
sort of support. Our family members, our friends. What kind of? I mean, you've already mentioned it slightly before, but what kind of support have you received from everyone? Tell me some names.
Okay, so specifically with writing my books, my mum, Tony Lambie, just putting her name out there, we've given her a title now, she's my editor, but especially with the lockdown book, because we couldn't even get upset and we couldn't even see each other, obviously, but we would have lots and lots of phone calls, video chats, emails, messages, back and forward because I really wanted to get the book out because lockdown was only going to be 3 weeks, wasn't it? Let's get it out quick. Anyway, so she was great and she still is. She's still employed. I pay her with cuddles from my children. Yeah, sorry. And she's my big supporter with all this sort of stuff. My husband is just amazing. He is so amazing. He gives me the emotional support that I need, and he'll sit there and listen to me reading out my poems and my stories if I ask him nicely. And everyone's very supportive as far as looking after the kids. That helps as well. But they've got faith in me, and like my friends. Some of my friends are like my biggest fans. Anything I put on my Facebook or my Instagram, they're liking it, they're sharing it. They are cheering me on, which is just, it's just lovely to have that support. I can't name them all. There's too many of them. My number one fan, I would say, is Margaret Goodwin, who I met through Facebook, through a local group we were in. And she loves my books. She loves them. And so every time I get comments from her, that gets me really cheered up. Yeah, really boosted. So you're nothing without support, and it does make a real difference.
Yeah, because out there, if you can get the support to do what you're doing, and it's not easy. If you guys out there can get support, or if anyone listening right now can support someone achieve their goals, and sometimes that support can come in simplest forms, can't it, Octavia? It can just be a simple message by saying to someone, "You can do it." Encouragement. Even words of encouragement. If you're not near that person, if you can't help them physically in any way by babysitting or whatever, sometimes words of encouragement could be the simplest form. And I also understand that there's some people out there in this world that have got no support whatsoever. They have to do it themselves, and that's hard. That's hard to do. But if you believe in yourself, okay, because I believe in you. Okay, I believe in everyone out there. You can all do it, right? If you believe in yourself and you can't get no support, just keep going. You're gonna have to chisel away. Just like Octavia has for many years, she's been chiseling away, and now she's got the bestsellers. I mean, how do you feel, Octavia, that your books have reached the stage of bestsellers? How does that make you feel inside after all the hard work you've done?
Do you know what? It was Cat's Eye View of Lockdown was at number 2 in its category on Amazon for a good couple of weeks, and I would refresh that page so regularly. So I was like, come on, you could get to number 1, come on. And then it just didn't. I was like, oh. And the book at number 1 was actually, I'm not going to say exactly what it was, I can't remember the name, but it had something to do with Christmas. So I thought, okay, maybe after Christmas, maybe. And I can remember on New Year's Day, I'd shared a post about my books from my Poems by Octavia page onto my profile, and shared it on there, and a few friends commented, and one of them commented, "Oh, I must buy this." And I thought, "Oh, go on then." And I checked New Year's Day, and it was at number 1. I was like, quick, screen grab that. That is. I don't know, you probably do know how it works. It fluctuates quite a lot, and it's dependent on what you've sold, but what other books in the category are selling, and it's all algorithms and things that I don't quite understand. But
right. So Octavia, listen, producer, just tell me I've got a couple of minutes left. I'm so sorry. What I was going to say was, very quickly, so you are a living example to everyone, and I know people out there thinking, we want to write a book. Would you be able to help some people with advice and tips? If you can, fire ahead, give me your social media and everything right now. Go for it.
So all of my handles are at Poems by Octavia. So that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I've got a YouTube channel as well, which I'll be putting this up there when it comes out, obviously sharing it. But yeah, anyone who wants to contact me, and we can work out a way that I could help, because it is a great feeling to be able to call yourself an author. If you're like me, that you've been thinking, I want to do this for half your life or more, to be able to actually get out there. I did it all myself, self-published. I actually did the design and the illustrations and everything myself as well, which obviously isn't for everyone. But yes, I would be happy. I would be happy to chat about ways that I could help, definitely. And my
Superb.
my
Octavia, listen, Octavia, we're running out of time. So listen, thank you so much for that information. And thank you so much for coming on Positive Minds today. Listen, keep smiling and keep moving forward. So there you go, guys. Octavia, you're welcome. So Octavia, 8 years old, she decided to write a poem. What she didn't know was one day that she'd have a bestseller on Amazon. So if she can do it, guys, you can do it. Just get yourself motivated. Find that inspiration and get that support. Guys, keep smiling and keep moving forward. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.